Hey everyone, Deb Ryan here. We're kicking off a new series and a new project here on the Navigating Carbon podcast called Perceptions of Energy and Climate. We're kicking off this project to really understand how people, mostly outside of both climate and the energy industry, perceive both sides of this conversation. We're all really busy people, and we don't often have time to actually do the research or read things beyond headlines that pop up into our newsfeed or things that our social media algorithms just put in front of us. I also find in my conversations with people that energy and climate people often don't run in the same circles, both professionally and personally. So there's no way for us to actually challenge each other or learn from each other around why these very seemingly disparate positions are often very misunderstood from both sides. So, this project aims to learn from people who are actually, like I said, outside of the space. How do people perceive climate and energy issues and policy that are going on around them, both here in America and globally? And how do we start to think about, as industry insiders, how those perceptions could be used to really understand what we're doing and how we are being impacted by the people around us? To kick off the first episode, I sat down with Mackenzie Marquis. Mackenzie's a student at the Colorado School of Mines who, when she came into Colorado School of Mines, knew nothing about the energy industry. I had a really fun time recording with Mackenzie this past week. And if you're interested in some of the work she's also doing, she hosts her own podcast called Energy is Everything, which I'll link in the show notes. Really appreciate people's thoughts and feedback on this, and I'm excited to see where this project both goes, both with video and through some of the other research work I'm going to do.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the next episode of Navigating Carbon. I am super excited today. We are doing our first in-person podcast, and I'm joined by Mackenzie Marquis. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
So Mackenzie is a student at Colorado School of Mines and is part of a group called Future Energy Scholars. And we're going to talk today about some of what you're learning through the program and conversations that you're having with others. But also going to start talking about like perceptions of climate and energy, both sort of yours and what you've seen from some of your fellow students. So really glad that we could do this.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Yeah.
So as I said, so tell us a little bit about, you're a student at Colorado School of Mines here in Golden. Tell everyone a little bit about the Future Energy Scholars Program.
So the Future Energy Scholars Program is a newer program. We've been around for about 2 years. So I'm in the first original cohort. So I'm one of the first, thank you. I'm one of the first group of 12 of us. So it was a new program basically discovered because I think there were a lot of alum and just people overall within the mines community that were like, hey, like energy is a huge thing. And it's not really specifically talked about on a student perspective. It's talked about a lot when you go into your career and people who've been working, they come back and they're like, oh yes, all these super important energy conversations, especially like with the Payne Institute, who works directly with the Future Energy Scholars. They host a lot of different like conferences or symposiums that talk about all of the different things that have to do with energy, but there wasn't a student perspective on energy. So that's kind of how the program started. I originally actually started there's a class here that now every freshman is required to take. It's called Futures. So I was also in the original cohort for that when it was basically like guinea pig class. So it was a complete trial run for that class. And so I walked in, we didn't know anything, and it was a completely different setup than anything we've done. So it was like the future of energy, but we would rotate through different like cohorts and different perspectives from different professors. And that's kind of where I determined that I really want to go into energy was from that original class.
Nice.
And so then we were told, hey, there's this future energy scholar thing. You should totally apply. So I applied, I got in. It was
Congrats.
Yeah,
Congrats.
really, really exciting. So what we kind of do now with the Future Energy Scholars is there's 12 of us in each cohort. I think there's maybe 24 now with a give or take with the 2 cohorts. And then we're going to have another upcoming cohort for the next year. And we all kind of focus on, we each have our own kind of like specialty within like the energy space. So we have people from all different majors. So I'm mechanical engineering, but we have mining, petroleum, chemical. So you take those different technical backgrounds in a sense that we learn about and kind of how those all correlate. And we're all future energy scholars because we want to learn more than just the technical aspect. We want to have these conversations about like carbon markets, different things like that. We've done conversations about carbon credits before, emissions, everything, kind of like holistic energy, not just the technical aspect, because it is really important as engineers to have that technical aspect. But I think to go the further additional step is to look at it all around.
And I love, one of the things that I really love about what the program's doing is, and you alluded to this, is that it's not just the mechanical students. It's not just the petroleum students. It's not just the critical mineral students. It's all of you. And so talk about like coming in as a mechanical student, like talk about like what your perceptions of the energy industry were coming into mines as a freshman. Like, were you aware kind of what it was that it kind of entailed, or, you know, was it even on your radar? Like,
yeah, I had absolutely no clue. And that's part of the reason why I have my own podcast, is because the students don't know about energy. And I think that is something that we could really work on as a school. And that's what I'm especially trying to help with is I came into mines and I didn't know they were a big energy player, had no clue. I'm here now. I'm like, wow, like we do a lot with energy, but coming in to the school, I had no clue. And then my freshman year kind of had a clue. Not really. It's not really talked about, especially to the undergraduate community.
Okay.
We do have some grad programs that talk about it, but it's not really talked about, which is why I really like my program. So coming in, knew nothing. Where I am now, know way more than I think a lot of my peers around me as well.
Cool. Well, and you've had the opportunity. So you mentioned Payne Institute, and you and I were both at one of their events earlier this year. That's their methane reduction event. You also had the opportunity through the Future Energy Scholar Program to go to CERAWeek.
Yes.
So, like, talk about what it's been like as a student to attend some of these really big industry events and like interact with people that are actually in the energy space and learn from them as well.
Absolutely incredible. I think the opportunities that I have been given are like crazy, like out of this world. I never thought that I would be like sitting here today. Like I never thought that I would have those kind of opportunities. Especially because you put so many different people in a room. You put like climate experts, you put like oil and gas industry experts, you like everyone you could think of all in one room to have these really important discussions about the future of energy, where we've been with energy, everything like that. And I really enjoyed it because I get to meet so many people. Me personally, love meeting new people. And it's been a great opportunity, especially with the events here, like on campus with the Payne Institute. And those that I've been to give me a lot more exposure, like within my own home. Like, so I feel a little bit more comfortable there, but then being able to like go out to CERAWeek, for example, coolest thing I've ever done in my life. It's how, it's how I spent my spring break. Every college kid's dream. A dream.
Instead of a spring break.
But it was honestly the best thing I like could have wished for. I met so many people who like really wanted to be there and were so excited about energy and what the future of energy is, and like new emerging technologies, or like there was a lot of conversations about the next generation of students graduating and going.
Huge part of the conversation right now.
Huge part. That was really helpful for me to see from a student's perspective. This is what they're looking for. And then to kind of be able to bring that back to mines is really cool, because I'm in rooms that I never thought I would be in, that I am so grateful that I'm in. And I get to bring some of those conversations and what I learned back to the community here at mines.
I love that. So I'm really curious. One of the things that I've been kind of starting to talk to people a lot about recently is this idea of perceptions and climate and energy. Like, and some of these bigger events and like through some of the work I do, like really starting to bring people together that are often very diametrically opposed in their opinions about energy development and decarbonization and stuff like that. So like choosing mechanical engineering as your major coming to school, like what would you have said before coming to school, like your perceptions around, like if you read a headline about the oil industry or minerals or mining or something like that, like what would you have what would have made you feel? Like how would you have viewed it, if that makes sense? Like, your perception.
I think coming into mines, I think a lot of people, and kind of without me knowing anything, is like oil and gas evil. but I don't actually think that's the case. And especially now that I've learned from all of my education here and getting to speak with other perspectives, is like, I mean, it'd be like cool if we were 100% like free emissions of nothing. But I mean, the United States, at least here, like we run off of oil and gas, and that's not going away anytime soon. And I think how we're able to use all different forms of energy together. And that's a conversation that I have a lot with my other scholars, because like me, like where I've worked, and I'm going to be going into midstream oil and gas. So I bring those perspectives. And then there's people who do a lot of research about everything all around. And I think getting to hear that it's not just going to be one solution is a really big deal. And don't immediately jump to a negative conclusion about something, I think, without hearing other people's perspectives.
Yeah.
Also, I came into the school, I was 18 years old. Like, honestly, like I didn't know much. You hear what you hear from the news, or you hear what you hear from like what other people tell you. But I think growing up and being at Mines for a little bit, I'm able to kind of form my own opinions with the knowledge that I'm given. So
do you see, like, through the podcast that you're doing, Energy is Everything, which is an awesome initiative that you're doing through the Future Energy Scholars program, do you see that same kind of perception from students that are, say, not in the program versus those that are, in terms of just that curiosity, or, they're either petroleum engineering students and they're all in, or they're not, or like, do you see that tension between different students and stuff in terms of perceptions of different aspects of the energy industry?
I think absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it'd be really awesome if we didn't have those mindsets. But we do have a whole petroleum engineering department. And like, as a mechanical engineer, there's an energy track and there's a nuclear track. However, they are only focusing on like the technical aspects of all of that, so you're kind of put in a box.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to get out of that box if you don't have something like the Future Energy Scholars Program. And I think a lot of what my goal is with the podcast is to get those ideas out there, that you don't have to be in one box. Like, I'm a mechanical engineer, but I worked in oil and gas, and I have a podcast, and I learn all about energy, and I go to these random conferences that have nothing to do with mechanical engineering. And then I think petroleum, you're really almost kind of stuck. Like, I know a lot of petroleum engineers, like you're going into petroleum engineering, right? But I think that there's a lot more to that conversation than just petroleum engineering.
Yeah.
And then I know there's a lot of like energy grad student programs, but when it comes to undergrad, I think it is so specific that it is difficult without the program that I'm in to kind of see all perspectives. And then you have like a lot of environmental engineers, and I've heard a lot of them, they're just like, boo oil and gas, but it's like, hey, like maybe we have these conversations with a petroleum engineer and we kind of figure out how it all works together.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love that. And I think more and more trying to figure out is something that I've been trying to do through the work I'm doing. And again, bringing different folks together through the podcast as well, of like, how do we all learn from each other?
Mm-hmm.
And like, how do we do that? So I'm so excited to see, how like, your big smile on your face.
Yeah.
It's like, the work that you've been doing through the Future Energy Scholars Program, over and above all your technical stuff with your mechanical engineering degree.
Mm-hmm.
I think the fact that it can give you a really holistic view into like what your career could do and where it could
Exactly, yeah.
is really amazing. So let's kind of, as we kind of wrap up, so like you mentioned you're going into midstream. So talk a little bit about like how you are now thinking about your mechanical engineering degree through an energy lens going forward, like what you're looking at doing.
Difficult question.
I know, but like it's fun.
Yes, no, I agree. Obviously, like my career path is the more technical base, especially when you're straight starting out of college.
To be honest, like I would recommend all engineers. I did the same thing. I still do technical engineering work. I've got more than 20 years experience. I'm still doing very technical work. It's important that we all have a solid technical base. It builds us ready for everything. So
I think once I'm out there in industry for a little bit, I want to take my knowledge of like midstream or technical like experiences and that. After I've been in it for a while, I think I'm going to be able to kind of form my own opinions about, hey, like what should we change? What could be different? How do we optimize this efficiency, anything like that? And then take my own knowledge. I mean, as you're seeing, I'm not afraid to like go out and speak. So that's, I think, one of my long-term goals is to be able to take my technical background, but then however apply my view of like, how do we work together? Because I think also when you're like company by company, it is really split up, and it's sometimes hard to have those conversations between company because you're thinking about your company, which there's nothing wrong with that at all. But then how do we move forward kind of just past that mindset for kind of like a broader energy conversation? So I hope to take my technical background and what I learn at the beginning, and then as I grow up, be able to take those ideas along with the ideas that I will build over time to kind of help spread that information.
And I think, the thing I've seen a huge change throughout my career is, this idea of silos, where I spent a good portion of my entire career in upstream oil and gas, and that was all that I did. And more as I do, other pieces, and particularly the decarbonization piece, again, working with people across the entire supply chain, and also in different industries, whether it's biofuels or electrification. And as we talk about all energy, has also been a really interesting shift that I've seen. So it'll be interesting to see how that continues as you develop your career as well. So
I don't know. We'll see.
I know. Well, Mackenzie, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure. And for everyone that wants to check it out, we'll put a link in the show notes, but you should check out Mackenzie's podcast as well.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks.